welcome to Blueprint Unlocked, our podcast about all things Maryland Blueprint and the work we're doing in Frederick County Public Schools to bring this work to life. I'm your host, Dr. Sarah Sergo, Chief of Staff and the Blueprint Implementation Coordinator for Frederick County Public Schools. Blueprint Unlocked is designed to unpack, understand, and yes, unlock the blueprint and the work that we're doing across all of the pillars in our district. Along with our milestone report, our quarterly update newsletter, and resources, we wanted to bring you an additional opportunity through this podcast to learn more about our work. Today, we're going to unlock Pillar 4, resources to support students to be successful. I'd like to welcome to the podcast 3 of our co-chairs for the Pillar 4 work, Dr. Kathy Gull, Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Dr. Deveda Coley, Supervisor of Community Schools, and Mr. Dana Falls, Director of Student Services. We'd like to have each of them introduce themselves to our audience and talk a little bit about what they do currently and why they are so passionate about this work in Pillar 4 and resources to support students. So, Dr. Gull, I'd love to start with you. Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Kathy Gull, and I currently am the Director of Curriculum and Instruction. One of the areas that I support is the Multilingual Education Program. And so that is just one of the many areas that we support in curriculum and instruction. But prior to this role, I was the supervisor of the Multilingual Education Program and spent the majority of my career educating multilingual learners. So I am very passionate about the work of Pillar 4 and what it can do for our multilingual community.
And it's really exciting to have you have such expertise leading that part of our work. Dr. Coley, I'll turn it over to you next. Can you introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. My name is Deveda Coley, and I am the supervisor of community schools. And, my work has really been what this pillar is about providing resources for our families, our students, ensuring that we are meeting their needs. And so I've really worked my entire career to make sure that our students and our families have what they need. And this work really supports it. So we're very excited about the implementation of this pillar.
And you've done a great job as our community schools have been expanding, and look forward to you sharing more about that work.
Thank you.
Mr. Falls, Director of Student Services, can you share a little bit about what that work involves and who you are for our audience?
Sure, thank you. I'm Dana Falls. I'm Director of Student Services, and I lead the department that our vision and mission really is about removing obstacles and barriers that interfere with student learning. And so whatever those barriers are, either family or school-based, providing the wraparound supports, really digging into root causes and eliminating those obstacles that would interfere with students from learning. Our goal is to make sure that the students who are in the seats are as ready to learn as we can possibly have them be. So the work really aligns with our department as well in providing those wraparound supports, particularly behavioral and mental health supports for students, screening for social emotional competencies, and really providing those tiered interventions for students.
Well, it's such a great example listening to the 3 of you introduce yourselves about how 3 different departments and 3 different offices are all coordinating to make sure that we're serving all of our students, including our students with disabilities. Although we're not focusing on them directly today, sort of that body of work is also folded in here. Pillar 4, as we've shared, is about resources to support all students. And FCPS has done some great work before the blueprint and, of course, currently as we pursue that interest. I wanted to highlight some of the current bodies of work. Adding a 5th community school this year and the robust needs assessments in all areas. Again, the support to schools with the new multilingual education program approach, and we'll talk about that shortly. Field testing and online interpreting platform to support multiple languages above and beyond Spanish. Expanding our special education continuum of supports and services for students with disabilities. And last but not least, providing support and professional learning on the multi-tiered system of support specifically for behavior. I'd love for each of you to share, when you think about the work that you've been pursuing and what you might want to highlight or celebrate on this pillar, what are you most proud of, and what would you want our listeners to know about what's going well? At this time, Dr. Coley, I'd love to start with you.
Sure. I'm always excited to talk about the work of our community schools. I am so proud of our 5 community coordinators and the principals who are leading the work of the community school strategy in our school. They are truly dedicated, as well as the staff at those schools, to ensuring that our families and students have what they need. All 5 of those schools have done a needs assessment, and they are using that work to strategically meet the needs of our community. And so the 4 schools that were there before have created an implementation plan, and then they are using that plan to develop partnerships and things of that sort. And so it is really exciting to see the resources that are being offered at the school and the things that they're doing. We're also really looking to strengthen our strategic partnerships. Our community is so chock full of great partnerships and organizations out there to help us. And so we're really looking to increase the number and the breadth of services that we're providing at our schools. We've had the great opportunity to invite a number of them to come together and to share their resources with each other, which was something that was talked about in our needs assessment, is something that we needed to do. And also for them to know our community school goals and talk about the ways that they can help us meet them. And so we're very, very excited about that collaboration and the increasing number of partnerships and deep strategic use of those partnerships in our schools.
Thank you for sharing how that work is unfolding and how it's been prioritized, especially the work of the coordinator, which in Frederick County is an administrator position, which sort of, again, elevates how we regard that as such an important part of program delivery.
Exactly.
Dr. Goll, I'd love to talk with you next, hear a little bit about what's the work that you're most proud of in MEP or other areas that you'd like to highlight.
Sure. I am really proud of how FCPS has responded to the growth of the multilingual community in our county. We are expanding programs to every single middle school and high school. So in the school year 24-25, we will have a staffed, robust multilingual education program in every single school. And that's huge. I am so proud of that work and so excited about that work. And I'm also excited about the fact that we leveraged a communication platform called Talking Points to communicate with our multilingual community members. I just looked at the data this morning. We have communicated over 1 million times in over 70 languages to our community members. And it's not just teachers and principals communicating with family members, it's family members communicating back to schools. And actually they have a higher percentage of messages. And so they are actively engaged in school and communicating with teachers and principals. And it is really exciting to see that growth and that connection that they have now.
And I love what you talked about, that idea of reciprocal communication, right? Because for so many years, communication was maybe a school had a monthly newsletter that they translated into another language. And now we're saying it's not just about us sharing information with families, it's them communicating back with us, their needs, their questions, their interests. So thank you for really leading that work. So now we'd like to move on to Mr. Falls. Mr. Falls, what is the work you're most proud of? What would you like our listeners to know more about?
Well, we've really tried to enhance our supports for schools with the multi-tiered systems of support. Primarily a couple key strategies that we've done. We've formed student services teams or student support teams under the direction of school directors. So they have at their access and they meet regularly, staff from the Office of Special Education and the Office of Student Services, where we're looking at student data and really trying to triage supports for students that are struggling. And so that's at the central office level, providing just another layer of support for schools with students who are struggling. We've partnered with Dr. Dalton, who is a premier expert on school avoidance. Dr. Dalton has done professional learning for our administrators and staff, and we do monthly consultation with Dr. Dalton on some of our most challenging cases of school avoidance. Generally, those are associated with anxiety or mental health in some way. And he's an expert in that field. And so we're really proud of that partnership and the additional resource it has brought our schools. We have also established behavior reps in every school. So each school has an identified behavior representative who attends quarterly training and then is able to take that information back and coach and work with their staff in their schools as well. And so those are just a few of the things that we've done to really enhance our wraparound supports for students.
And I love the notion that, we can't look at any one aspect of a student individually, right? That your team is sort of at the table regardless of what we're talking about, so that we can make sure we're having that holistic view. So we appreciate that work that you're leading as well. We're going to sort of then dive in a little bit more to this notion of making connections. And I think, as I shared earlier, one of the things that we talk about in the blueprint is the connectedness between the pillars, not only within your pillar, but across pillars. And so while Pillar 4 focuses on resources to support all students, we know that there's a direct connection between the work that you're doing and all levels of student learning, pre-K through 12. Based on your experiences, I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you believe this work that you're doing is going to support student outcomes. And Mr. Falls, I'd love to start with you this time.
Thank you. I really see the direct connection to what I shared earlier with our vision of our office in regard to removing obstacles for students. Our pillar focuses on students that are typically underserved populations of students. And so normally when we see achievement gaps, they are among the groups that our offices represent. And so we have really partnered with our curriculum office and with our school administrators and the instructional division to look at how do we help those students that are traditionally struggling in a different way, in a new and enhanced way. And a lot of that has come not only partnering within FCPS, but also partnering with community providers as well. And I think that partnership and that collaboration is vital in providing the supports that we need, particularly when we look at our pre-K population, our early learners. We've seen a significant increase in behavioral concerns since the pandemic and returning from being isolated at home. And so we're really trying to work at how do we support the students directly, but also how we enhance supports to our staff so that they can be the frontline individuals providing the appropriate supports to those students who are struggling significantly these days.
Yeah, it's such a great reminder when you think about our preschoolers, our 3- and 4-year-olds. Many of them, all of them have been born in 2020 or 2021. And so they're really transitioning into a different environment, but also we're receiving kids in different ways. So thank you for highlighting that work. Dr. Coley, I'd love to hear your thoughts on sort of the experiences that you're doing and the work you're providing. How do you think this is going to support student outcomes?
Absolutely. I feel that community schools are really about every child every day. It's about making sure that we are eliminating that achievement gap, that we are providing those resources so that every child has equal access to be able to perform in school. And so it's definitely connected. I feel like all of the pillars are about that. They're really about that equity and academic excellence. And this pillar really helps to support that.
Yeah, and I think this idea, when people say, well, what's a community school? The idea of health services, medical
Yes.
services, counseling, family care, food scarcity, all of those things that some of us take for granted having, as resources and being resource rich. So it's like giving that resource rich experience to everyone so that when they walk in the door, they're ready to learn. And we know that that's going to make a difference.
Absolutely.
Dr. Gull, would you add anything to that?
Sure. I was thinking about Pillar 1, right? So our expansion of preschool opportunities. And just recently, our Multilingual Education Program Office and our Office of Early Childhood Education have collaborated, and they realized that they were enrolling some students and families who have multilingual children, and they need different types of support. And so we are going to host now pre-K enrollment days at the International Office, who traditionally enrolls K to 12. But through that collaboration and through that connection, through the connection of the Blueprint pillars, they're now hosting pre-K enrollment days so that they can connect with our coordinator of family engagement and partnerships, who can provide information about wraparound services, information about FCPS and our school system to those pre-K newest FCPS family members, those pre-Kers. And then another pillar is pillar 3, college and career readiness. Our multilingual education program is collaborating with FCC to provide some of our older students, our older multilingual learners, opportunities to continue their education at FCC or access some job skill training. And so we're collaborating with FCC on doing that. And those are direct alignments between pillar 4 and pillar 1 and pillar 3. So it's all connected.
And such a great example of, sometimes we make assumptions about we have children from the beginning of their experience, and certainly while a vast majority of our students might have been with us since pre-K or elementary, we do get students who have these needs who are coming into our district for the first time and later in their academic career. And so really looking at that continuum is essential. So we know there's a lot of great work to celebrate. You've highlighted a couple of things, but we also know there's more to accomplish. And some of the things that I know you're working on is, of course, expansion of community schools, ensuring that strategic alignment of partnerships. I know there's also a lot of work about the need for additional therapeutic and mentoring supports. And of course, expanding the support and academic opportunities for all students, whether they're learning English or frankly, those experiencing housing instability, which is something that many of our families face. So when you think about the work ahead, it doesn't have to be limited to what I've highlighted. What are you focused on? What's that one thing you're focused on right now that you'd like to highlight? And Dr. Gull, I'll start with you.
We are really focused on standing up robust ME programs at every single school. That includes professional learning for the staff receiving the new program on how to work with multilingual students, but also leveraging those platforms for communication, for interpreting services. And we are also focused on increasing opportunities for our multilingual learners to be a part of dual enrollment, part of AP courses, a part of CTC. And so those are 2 areas of focus for our program right now.
Wonderful. What about you, Dr. Coley? What would you like to highlight?
So we are truly scholar practitioners. We are really doing reading and research, and we want to learn more about family and community engagement. And so we're really reading about that. We want to ensure that we're providing first-class family engagement. And so we are reading and setting some guidelines and direction for how we can ensure that we're doing that. We're also very excited to be working with the grant award winners from the Maryland Consortium of Coordinated Community Support. And so we are so excited that there's going to be 12 different organizations that are going to be providing wraparound services to our schools. And some of those are going to be coming to our community schools. And those services include mental behavioral health, extended learning opportunities, parent education classes. And so we're really working to determine how those fit into our programs to meet the needs of our families. And last but not least, we're very excited that we're going to be onboarding that we're bringing on some new schools. We're doing some onboarding right now. And so we're excited to be moving to the secondary level now because all of our current schools are in the elementary school. And so we're going to be adding Monocacy, Crestwood, and West Frederick Middle, and Heather Ridge. And so we're very excited to welcome those schools to our community school family.
That's wonderful. And so that sort of needs-based targeted expansion is essential. Mr. Falls, what about you? What would you like to highlight in terms of the work ahead?
Well, a couple areas. First and foremost, since Deveda mentioned the Maryland Consortium of Coordinated Community Supports and the grants that are going to our community partners, that's a primary focus of us right now as we develop MOUs with those organizations. They elected to have a hub and spoke model of delivery. And as of now, we're not aware of whether or not there will be a hub in Frederick County. So we are putting a lot of work into getting those partnerships up and running. And doing it in a way that satisfies the needs of both our community partners and Frederick County Public Schools. So that's in the immediate future. Those 12 partners who were awarded grant funds, really trying to get them ready to deliver quality service to our students and families. And then secondly,
No, go ahead,
I'm sorry. Secondly, a focus area is the area of Child Find. And really identifying as early as we can the needs of individuals, children who will be our students, and making sure that we try to provide supports to them as early as possible, so that when they do enter pre-K and kindergarten, they're again as ready to learn as we possibly can have them be. So those are two focus areas for us in the immediate future.
Yeah, and one of the things that when you were speaking, it reminded me of is sort of there's, thousands upon thousands of partnerships. And so one of the things I know this collective group has looked at is not all partnerships are created equal. And so these mechanisms of really saying, yes, there's value in what you offer, but that may not be what we need in this moment. And so that precision of matching, of needs-based matching is a real important part of how we evaluate which partnerships get expanded, and appreciate all the work that you've done to lead that. So my last question is sort of, if you were to wave your magic wand or look through your crystal ball into the future, one of the things we know the Blueprint asks us to do is to innovate, is to not necessarily just do more of the same, but to really reimagine the work that we have to pursue differently and in different ways. And so as you are reimagining or thinking about some new ways of approaching things that may have been done in a traditional format or brand new ideas that are on the horizon, what do you hope to accomplish in the next 3 to 5 years with the Pillar 4 work? And I'll start with you, Dr. Coley, this time.
All right, I think our looking to the future relates back to our vision, which is embrace our community, empower all stakeholders, expand opportunities, and ensure equity and academic excellence for every child every day. And I want to begin with ensuring equity and academic excellence. I think the main goal for all of us is to eliminate the achievement gap and make sure that our families and students have what they need to be successful. And so I really hope that our work with community schools, as well as all of the other work with our pillars and the academic support, will do that will actually eliminate that achievement gap. So that's our first hope and accomplishment. I think also we want to empower our stakeholders, make sure that our staff and students and families have the resources and things that they truly are collaborative partners, and that we'll be able to roll out the strategy to truly meet the needs of each community. And so we want to equip everybody with the knowledge that they need about the resources so that they can reach out, use those and be able to access those as they need. We also want to embrace our community. We want to make sure that every stakeholder has a sense of belonging and feels seen, heard, and valued. And so we look to do that by making sure that we have those continued partnerships, that we make sure that they are based on the needs and that we're getting feedback from our community on an ongoing basis. And then also expanding opportunities. We want to continue to expand our leadership opportunities, make sure that our student voice is heard, that make sure that our staff voice is heard, that we're hearing things from our community. We want to make sure that we have engaging family and community events, things that will really make a difference and help our community. And we want to continue to expand the community school strategy. And so we do look to expand, hopefully in the future, to more schools and just expand the great work that we're already doing.
Thank you for sharing. Dr. Gull, how about you?
We say that bilingualism is a superpower. And we understand the assets that being bilingual or trilingual brings to the brain. And so we would love to see the expansion of dual language programs in our elementary schools, even into our middle schools, that really allow students to be bilingual citizens and community members when they're done. And so that is an area of focus. A lot of the work that Dr. Coley spoke of is also the work of the multilingual education program. And that's just another example of how connected we are. When you have families who are empowered through wraparound services, who are empowered through feeling seen and heard and feel like they belong, then you have multilingual community members in the schools supporting their students, supporting their children, communicating with teachers, using whatever communication platform that they may need. And so that work, when all of that comes to fruition, then we are truly meeting the needs of our community in multiple ways. And that's the vision for the future. And that's why this Pillar 4 team works so hard with different departments and different groups, because we believe in that mission. So that's the future.
Wonderful. And Mr. Falls will give you the last word. What would you like to see happen in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, first of all, I think Dr. Gall and Dr. Coley have really very effectively answered this question. The only thing I would add is when we look at the continuum of supports for our students with disabilities, if I could wave a magic wand, we would have the resources to ensure that every student could receive what they need in their home school or as close to their home school as possible. And so that takes a lot of resources to make that happen. But that, if I could wave the magic wand and add to what they said, that's what I would layer on top of that.
Well, it sounds like we certainly have the right team pursuing this from different perspectives, and yet at the same time, incredibly coordinated and moving in the right direction together. Thank you to our guests, Dr. Kathy Gull, Dr. Deveda Coley, Mr. Dana Falls, for all of their insights today. Your knowledge and expertise is going to be the key to unlock this blueprint work. The information that you shared today was both insightful and informative, and I hope will unlock this topic for everyone. And that brings us to the end of our time today. Please go to our website, www.fcps.org/blueprint, and select stakeholder resources to check out more information and unlock the blueprint with us. Thank you for your time today.